Friday, 8:17 p.m. Our apartment looked like a wedding showroom that had gotten tired and decided to cosplay as a normal home again. A garment bag leaned against the wall like a polite accusation. The dining table was covered in neat stacks, seating chart drafts, vendor receipts, little sample ribbons Sloane kept meaning to compare in natural light. Natural light. In December, in a country where the sun clocks out early, Sloane stood at the counter scrolling her phone with the slow confidence of someone who believes the world will keep buffering until she's ready to look up. She didn't even pretend she was making tea. The kettle wasn't on. The mug was clean. This wasn't comfort. This was staging. "You've been quiet," she said, like she was commenting on the weather. I sat at the table with the wedding binder open in front of me, pen in my hand, doing my best impression of a man who still believed in the future. If you've never tried to act normal while your gut quietly starts packing its bags, I can't recommend it. "I'm prioritizing peace," I said. "It's my new hobby." She smiled without warmth, the kind of smile that says, "I already told my friends you're difficult, so try not to ruin the narrative." Then she dropped it, casually, like she was choosing a playlist. "Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. My friends all hate you because you're apparently too nice and boring. I really need a break to date a real bad boy type." There are sentences that land like punches, not loud, not dramatic, just perfectly placed. And the worst part is, you can't swing back at them without looking exactly like the villain they already cast you as. I blinked once. I let my face stay neutral. I did not give her the satisfaction of watching me scramble. "Okay then," I said. "I'll be back." Sloane's eyebrows lifted, a small flicker of surprise. That wasn't the reaction she'd rehearsed for. She wanted a scene, tears, bargaining, rage, anything that could be clipped into a story where she was brave and I was unstable. Instead, I stood up, rinsed my mug like I hadn't just been handed a new reality, and walked into the bedroom. In the closet, my suit hung there in its garment bag, ready to become a prop in someone else's performance. I didn't touch it. I sat on the edge of the bed and listened to the apartment. The faint hum of the fridge, the distant traffic, the little taps of Sloane's nails on her screen as she typed. That was the part that made it real. She started typing immediately. Not texting me, reporting. I stayed still until I heard the bathroom door close, water running, that familiar soundtrack of "We're fine." Then I walked back out, picked up my phone, and did the most romantic thing a fiancé can do 2 weeks before a wedding. I canceled everything. First, the venue. I searched contract in my email and found the thread with the venue coordinator, the one Sloane called such a sweetheart. Everything in writing, because of course it was. Weddings are built on paper. Paper is what makes dreams look responsible. I called, straight to voicemail. So I did what adults do when they're about to stop being adults. I sent the email, short, polite, surgical. "Please confirm cancellation of our booking. Per the agreement, I understand the deposit terms. Thank you." My thumb hovered for half a second before I hit send. Not because I doubted myself, because I understood what it meant. Once you pull a thread like that, the whole sweater starts coming apart, and people panic when they feel cold. Second, the caterer. I didn't have to call. The portal had a bright button that said cancel event, like it was a streaming subscription. Click, confirm. A cheerful little message popped up about processing times, for a relationship. Great. Third, the honeymoon. That one felt almost funny in a bleak sort of way. The itinerary was still open on a tab from last week. Sloane had been so excited about the hotel balcony, the ocean view, the fresh start. I clicked cancel reservation, entered my confirmation code, and watched the total refund update on screen. If I'm being honest, The part that hurt wasn't canceling. It was realizing how quickly I could. Because I was the one who booked it all. I was the one who paid. I was the one who handled boring things like deadlines and confirmation numbers and making sure the dream didn't fall apart because someone forgot the details. Nice, boring, useful. I put my phone down and stared at the wedding binder on the table. Sloane's handwriting was on the tabs. Heart table, family table. Don't put Jessa near Uncle Ron. Jessa. Of course, if Sloane was the actress, Jessa Pike was the director. She was the kind of best friend who didn't just cheer you on. She rewrote the script until it made her look smartest in the room. My phone vibrated. A new email. Subject line: cancellation request received. Please confirm. I opened it, and my eyes caught a single sentence near the bottom. Also, just confirming, your fiancé called earlier today asking to change the card on file. I read it twice. Not because I didn't understand the words, because I understood the intention. Sloane hadn't said break like someone confused. She said it like someone moving pieces. I glanced toward the bathroom door, water still running, the sound of a woman who believed she had time. I sat back down at the table, picked up the pen, and wrote one line in the margin of the seating chart like it was a normal note. She is planning something. My phone buzzed again, this time with a notification from a synced device. Sloane's tablet was on the couch, screen lit up for a second with a preview of a message. I didn't touch it. I didn't open anything. I just read what the lock screen preview offered me like the universe was tipping its hand. Jessa Pike. Finally. Owen's way more your type. Don't let him guilt you. Owen. Owen Rusk. The bad boy type, apparently. The kind of guy whose entire personality was a leather jacket and the confidence of someone who never had to clean up the mess. I stared at the message until the screen went dark again. Then I did the only thing I could do without becoming exactly what they wanted me to become. I stayed calm. I stayed quiet. I started documenting. Not dramatic, not obsessive, just careful. I opened a note on my phone and wrote the date and time. I wrote what she said, word for word. I wrote the vendor email about the card change request. I wrote Jessa's line, exactly as it appeared. Because if there's one thing I've learned about people who treat loyalty like a hobby, it's this. When the story breaks, everyone suddenly remembers it differently. Behind me, the bathroom door opened. Sloane walked out, hair damp, wearing the soft sweater she liked because it made her look harmless. She glanced at the table, at the binder, at me. "Are you still sulking?" she asked, like I was a child who needed a snack. I looked up and gave her a small, calm smile. "No," I said. "I'm just thinking." She rolled her eyes like thinking was my worst habit. "Good," she said, "because I'm going out." "Sure," I replied. "Have fun." She hesitated, just a fraction, like she expected the old version of me to ask where, with who, for how long. I didn't ask. She grabbed her keys and left, perfume trailing behind her like a signature. The apartment went quiet again. That was when my phone lit up with an unknown number. No greeting, no explanation. Just a single photo. A dim club booth. Neon glare. Sloane's hand on a man's neck. Owen, unmistakable, grinning like he'd won something. Her face turned toward him, smiling the way she hadn't smiled at me in weeks. And in the corner of the image, caught in a mirror reflection behind them, was a partial view of the wall clock above the bar. The time was clear. So was the message, even without words. This wasn't a break. This was a replacement. I stared at the photo until my screen dimmed. Then I whispered the only honest thought I had left. "Okay," I said softly to the empty room. "Let's do it your way." The photo didn't change, but my mind did what it always does when it's trying to protect you from going off the rails. It started building shelves. One shelf for facts, one shelf for feelings, one shelf for what I was going to do next. Facts. Sloane was out. With Owen. Tonight. Not eventually, not maybe, not I need space. Tonight. Feelings. A sharp, clean kind of quiet. Like someone turned the volume down on my life, and I could finally hear the wiring. What I was going to do next. Not what a hurt man would do. What a careful man would do. I didn't text her. I didn't call. I didn't send a dramatic paragraph that would get screenshot, shared, and narrated with sad violin music in a group chat. Instead, I put on a jacket, grabbed my keys, and did the least romantic thing imaginable for a Friday night. I went to learn who else already knew. Outside, the air had that damp winter smell, cold concrete, car exhaust, someone's burnt coffee. I drove with the radio off because my brain was already talking enough. On the way downtown, I passed the billboard for the venue we were supposed to use. Their giant smiling couple looked like they'd never had to cancel anything in their lives. I briefly hated them. Then I remembered they were probably actors, which felt correct. When I got near the club district, traffic slowed into that usual parade of bravado. Tinted windows, bass you can feel through your steering wheel, people stepping out of cars like the street owed them applause. I didn't park close. I didn't want my car in the background of anyone's story. I found a spot 2 blocks away under a flickering streetlight that looked like it wanted to retire. I sat for a moment and watched the entrance from a distance. Clubs are funny. They're designed to look like freedom but operate like a funnel. Everyone goes in through the same door. Everyone pretends they're not following anyone. I checked the time. 10:41 p.m. I opened my notes and typed it in, just like I'd done earlier. Not because I wanted to build a case, because I wanted to anchor reality before someone tried to rewrite it. Then I did something I'm not proud of, but I'm also not going to pretend I'm a monk. I called the last person on earth who would judge me for showing up at a club like a ghost with a purpose. Marla Dune. Marla tended bar at half the places downtown. She knew everyone. Not because she was nosy, because people hand their secrets to bartenders the way they hand their coat to a hostess. They assume it'll be returned neatly later. Marla picked up on the 3rd ring. "You're calling me on a Friday," she said. "Either you're in trouble or you finally learned how to have fun." "I'm outside Copper Room," I said. She didn't ask why. That was why I liked Marla. A beat of silence, then, "You're in the wrong decade for Copper Room." "Yeah, I noticed." Another pause. I could hear music through her phone, muffled and distant. "You want me to tell you something you already know," she said. "I want you to tell me something I can say out loud without sounding insane." Marla exhaled, like she was deciding how much truth to hand me. "She's been in here twice this week," she said. "With the same guy. Owen." "I didn't say his name," Marla replied. "But yes." My jaw tightened, not in a dramatic way, in a mechanical way, like a bolt being turned. "Is she okay?" I asked. The question came out before I could stop it, which annoyed me. I wasn't her father. I wasn't her manager. I wasn't even her fiancé anymore, apparently. I was the nice, boring placeholder. Marla snorted. "She looks like she's auditioning for a better life." "Great. And Nate," she added, voice shifting, "don't do anything dumb." "I'm the human embodiment of not doing anything dumb," I said. "You canceled a wedding in one night," Marla replied. "That's either genius or a documentary." I almost laughed. Almost. "Thanks," I said. "If you see her, just keep your eyes open." "You too," Marla said and hung up. I put my phone down and sat there for another minute, watching people go in. A group of women in matching outfits. A guy arguing with a bouncer like he believed anger was currency. A couple kissing for no reason other than being seen. Then I walked toward the door. Copper Room was all lighting tricks and overpriced confidence. The kind of place where the music isn't loud. It's aggressive. Like it's trying to win an argument with your bones. I didn't push through the crowd. I didn't scan like a hunter. I moved like I belonged there, which is something you can do when you stop caring whether you belong. I ordered water at the bar. The bartender glanced at me like I'd asked for a salad. Long night, I said calmly. He slid me a plastic cup like it was an insult. Fine. I sipped, leaned an elbow on the bar, and did what I do best. I watched. It took less than 3 minutes. Sloane was in a booth near the back, half hidden by a decorative plant that looked like it had never seen the sun. She was angled toward Owen in that way people do when they're trying to look casual, but can't help making their body a sentence. Owen was exactly what her friends would call exciting. Leather jacket, that lazy grin, a watch too big for his wrist, a man who carried himself like rules were for other people, until consequences showed up and demanded ID. He was talking. Sloane was laughing. Her hand touched his arm, then stayed there longer than it needed to. Not friendly, not oops, not I didn't realize. Intentional. My first impulse was to walk over and say something that would make him smaller. I'm not proud of that either. But the impulse was there. Then the second impulse arrived. Cooler and better. Don't give them a scene. Give them a timeline. I lifted my phone, not filming them, filming myself. The bar lights, my cup, the music thumping. I hit record on a voice memo and spoke quietly, low enough that it sounded like I was talking to myself. 10:56 p.m. Copper Room. Sloane Avery is here with Owen Rusk. Booth near the back by the plant wall. No drama, just a fact anchored to time. Then I ended the recording and put my phone away. That's when Owen looked up. He didn't spot me right away. He sensed me. Some people are like that. They feel attention the way some animals feel storms. His eyes moved across the room, landed on me, and stayed there. I didn't flinch. I didn't look away. I didn't glare. I just held his gaze like I was reading a label. Owen leaned toward Sloane, said something in her ear. She turned, saw me, and her face did a quick little reboot. Surprise, then annoyance, then a performance-ready calm. She whispered something back and stood, smoothing her dress like she was about to go on stage. Owen didn't stand. Not yet. He watched me like he was deciding what kind of problem I was. Sloane walked toward me through the crowd, and the music swallowed most of the sound, but I could still see her mouth forming words. "What are you doing here?" she demanded when she reached the bar. I took a slow sip of water. "Same thing you're doing," I said, checking the vibe. Her eyes narrowed. "Stop, this is weird." Weird is telling your fiancé you need a break to date a bad boy type, and then acting surprised when he notices you're on a date, I replied. She glanced around, scanning for eyes on us, always managing optics. Always. "Don't make a scene," she hissed. "I'm literally drinking water," I said. "I'm the least scene you'll ever have." She opened her mouth, probably to say something about me being controlling, insecure, dramatic, whatever label was trending in her group chat. But Owen stood up then. He moved through the crowd with that practiced confidence of a man used to getting his way with posture alone. He came right up to me, close enough to invade space without technically touching. "You lost?" he asked, smiling. His breath smelled like something expensive and reckless. I looked him up and down, slowly, like I had time. "No," I said. "I'm exactly where I wanted to be." Sloane's jaw tightened. "Nate, go home." "After you," I replied. Owen chuckled and leaned in slightly, like he wanted me to lean back, like he wanted the story to be, "Bad boy dominates nice boring guy." Crowd cheers. I didn't move. He tried again, bumping the bar with his hip, shifting the space so my cup wobbled. A server walked behind him carrying a tray, glassware, napkins, the whole balancing act. Owen didn't notice. He was too busy trying to be a movie. The tray tilted. Instinct took over before pride could argue. I reached out and caught the edge, steadying it. The server's eyes went wide. "Thank you," she mouthed. Owen froze for half a second, because nothing ruins a tough guy moment like the boring man preventing an accident. I set the tray back level and turned to Owen with the same calm face I'd worn all night. "You should watch where you swing your ego," I said. "It knocks into things." Owen's smile faltered. "Not much, just enough." Sloane grabbed my arm, lightly but with intent, like she wanted control without leaving marks, because she understood cameras even when there weren't any. "Stop," she whispered. "Please." There it was, the please. The word she used when she wanted something without admitting she needed it. I pulled my arm free gently. "I'm not here to fight," I said, loud enough for Owen to hear, soft enough that it didn't sound like a threat. "I'm here to remember faces." Owen's eyes narrowed. "You threatening me?" I smiled, small and polite. "No," I said. "I'm learning you." That did it. Owen stepped closer, and for a split second my body prepared for impact, muscles tightening, breath shortening, old instincts rising. Then I heard Marla's voice in my head. "Don't do anything dumb." So I did the smartest thing a man can do in a club full of witnesses. I left. Not running. Not storming. Just walking away like I'd already gotten what I came for. Behind me, I heard Sloane call my name, sharper now, because I'd taken away her control of the scene by refusing to play my role. I walked out into the cold, the bass fading behind the door like a headache finally loosening. Outside, I breathed in air that didn't taste like somebody else's choices. My phone buzzed immediately. An email. Subject line, "Re-honeymoon itinerary, requested details." I opened it and felt my stomach drop in a way that was almost funny. "Hi, Nate," the email read. "Per your fiancé's request, here are the booking details and itinerary attachment." Sloane had asked for the itinerary, after the cancellations, after the break, after she'd looked me in the eye and told me I was boring. She still thought the honeymoon was hers. She still thought the wedding was happening. That wasn't denial. That was entitlement. I stood under the streetlight and looked back at the club entrance, where people were laughing, arriving, leaving, living inside their small, loud Friday night stories. Then I opened my notes and typed one more line. She doesn't know yet, and that's the point. As I slid my phone back into my pocket, it buzzed again. A text this time from Sloane. "Where are you? We need to talk, now." And before I could even decide whether to reply, a second message arrived, this one from a number I didn't recognize. Just 3 words. "Stop following her." No name, no emoji, no explanation. But I knew exactly whose tone it was. I stared at the screen, felt the cold creep into my fingers, and realized the night had shifted. This wasn't just cheating. This was a contest, and they thought I was the kind of man who quits quietly. I looked up at the dark windows above the street, the city watching without caring, and I smiled to myself. "Okay," I murmured. "Now we're getting honest." Then I got in my car, because the next move wasn't going to happen in a club. It was going to happen in daylight. I didn't reply to either message, not because I was trying to look mysterious, because replies create threads, and threads create stories people can pull on later. Silence, on the other hand, just sits there, heavy, uncooperative. I drove home with the windows cracked, letting the cold keep me alert. By the time I parked, I had already decided something important. If this was going to turn into a public version of events, then I was going to choose the lighting. Inside, the apartment felt different. Quieter. Not peaceful. Emptied. Like a set after the crew packs up and only the tape marks are left on the floor. Sloane wasn't back yet. Her coat was gone. Her good boots, too. The ones she wore when she wanted to look effortless, but intentional. I noticed these things the way you notice missing furniture after a move. I set my keys down, opened my laptop, and started doing what I should have done weeks ago. I checked dates, not memories, not vibes, dates. I pulled up our shared calendar, nothing fancy, just dinners, fittings, wedding prep blocks she insisted on color coding. I scrolled back. 3 weeks ago, there was a block labeled Girls' Night on a Tuesday. I remembered that night. She came home late, cheerful in a way that didn't include me. 2 weeks ago, another Girls' Night. Different emoji, same timing. Last week, the calendar entry changed. No label, just busy. Busy is what people write when they don't want questions. I opened my email next and searched Owen's name. Nothing. Of course not. He wasn't sloppy. He was informal. He lived in texts and voice notes and places without receipts. So I searched vendors instead. Florist, photographer, venue, caterer, anything that could have been touched by a hand that didn't have authority. That's when I saw it. An email from the florist, sent 4 days ago, buried under a subject line about seasonal availability. "Hi, Nate," it read. "Just confirming. Sloane requested a delivery address update for the wedding florals. Please advise." Delivery address update. That wasn't forgetfulness. That was logistics. I opened the attachment. It wasn't our venue. It was a converted loft across town. Industrial. Exposed brick. The kind of place people call intimate when they really mean not officially approved for much. I leaned back in my chair and let out a slow breath. So that was the plan. Keep the wedding alive socially while quietly relocating it physically. If I protested, I'd be the problem. If I didn't show, I'd be the villain who abandoned her at the last minute. It was clever, and it would have worked if I were actually boring. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Sloane calling. I let it ring. Then again. On the third call, I answered. "What?" I said calmly. "Where did you go?" she demanded. No greeting, no concern, just accusation. "I went home," I replied. "You were busy." "That was humiliating," she said. "You had no right showing up like that." "I didn't touch you," I said. "I didn't raise my voice. I drank water. You embarrassed Owen." There it was. Not us. Not me. Owen. "I didn't say his name," I replied. "You did." She inhaled sharply, regrouping. I could hear the wheels turning. She was good at this. Always had been. "You're acting unstable," she said, "and my friends are worried." "I'm sure," I replied. "They seem very invested." "Don't do this," she said. "We still have a wedding." I glanced at my laptop screen, at the florist's attachment, at the alternate address. "Do we?" I asked. Silence, not confusion, calculation. "What do you mean by that?" she asked carefully. "I mean," I said, keeping my voice level, "you might want to double-check what you think is happening. You're being dramatic." "Am I?" I replied. "Because I'm looking at an address change request that isn't our venue." Another pause, longer this time. "Who told you that?" she asked. "Nobody," I said. "Paperwork did." She exhaled, sharp and irritated. "This is exactly why I needed space." "No," I replied. "You needed cover." Her voice hardened. "If you ruin this, everyone will know what kind of person you are." I smiled, though she couldn't see it. "That's the part you're getting wrong," I said. "Everyone already does." She scoffed. "You think people are going to take your side?" "I don't need sides," I said. "I need timelines." "Stop talking in riddles," she snapped. "Okay," I said simply. "Here's a clear sentence. Don't move anything that has my name on it." "You don't get to control me," she shot back. "I'm not trying to," I replied. "I'm controlling me." She laughed, short, sharp, dismissive. "You're unbelievable." "I know," I said. "I surprised myself too." She hung up. I stared at the phone for a moment, then placed it face down on the table. That was when I heard keys at the door. Sloane walked in 10 minutes later like she'd rehearsed it, chin up, shoulders back, ready to dominate the space with confidence. She tossed her bag on the counter and looked at me like she was assessing damage. "We need to talk," she said. "We already are," I replied. She folded her arms. "You can't just cancel things behind my back." I can cancel things I paid for, I said. That's not behind your back. That's in front of a bank. Her eyes flashed. So this is about money now? It's about responsibility, I replied, which I know isn't a fun topic. She took a step closer. You're trying to punish me. I shook my head. No, I'm responding to information. You always do this, she said. You collect details like they mean something. They do, I replied. That's why contracts exist. She rolled her eyes. God, you're exhausting. Then this should be a relief, I said calmly. She stared at me, searching my face for something, anger, pleading, weakness. She didn't find it. You think you're winning, she said quietly. I think, I replied, that you're underestimating how bad it looks when someone tries to replace a groom without telling him. Her mouth opened, then closed again. I picked up the florist attachment and slid my laptop toward her. She didn't touch it. She didn't need to. She already knew. I was going to tell you, she said. After? I asked. After things settled. I nodded slowly. Of course. She turned away, pacing. This doesn't have to be ugly. That depends, I replied, on whether you stop pretending nothing happened. She stopped pacing and looked at me sharply. What do you want? I considered the question. What I wanted wasn't revenge. Not yet. What I wanted was for her to make the next mistake herself. I want you to keep doing exactly what you're doing, I said. She frowned. What does that mean? It means, I said, standing up, I'm not going to chase you. I'm not going to beg. And I'm definitely not going to fix this for you. Her eyes narrowed. Then what are you going to do? I grabbed my jacket. I'm going to let this play out, I said, in daylight. As I walked toward the door, she called after me, her voice sharp with something new, uncertainty. You're making a mistake. I paused with my hand on the handle and glanced back. No, I said. I already made the mistake. Then I opened the door and stepped into the hall, leaving her standing there with her plans, her confidence, and a future that suddenly had a lot less room to maneuver. My phone buzzed as the elevator doors closed, an email notification from the venue manager. Subject line, urgent, confirmation needed. I smiled to myself, because urgency is what happens when someone realizes the ground they're standing on was never theirs to begin with. Got it. Here is a shortened, tight English rewrite of Part 4, keeping logic intact, tone calm and sharp, without using any banned words and without banned names. The loft wasn't a backup plan. That became clear the second time I opened the florist's attachment, not as a fiancé but as someone looking for intent. Same date, same scale, different location, industrial, quiet, perfect for something meant to happen without questions. My phone rang before I could close the file. You think you're clever, Sloane said. Her voice was controlled, which meant she was already angry. Canceling things behind my back. I didn't cancel behind your back, I replied. I canceled what had my name on it. You knew what I was trying to do, she snapped. You could have handled this quietly. I am handling it quietly, I said. You're the one making it complicated. She laughed once, sharp and short. You're trying to punish me. No, I said. I'm responding to what you set in motion. There was a pause. Not confusion, calculation. If you ruin this, she said slowly, everyone will know what kind of person you are. I leaned back in my chair and looked at the address on the screen. That depends, I said, on who's lying about what's happening. She hung up. An hour later, I met her at the old hotel ballroom. Neutral ground, cameras, staff, witnesses. Places like that keep people honest, or expose them when they try not to be. She arrived composed, confident, like someone still convinced the story would bend. Her new protector followed a few steps behind her, close enough to be intentional. We didn't argue. I didn't accuse. I asked one question. Why did you change the delivery address? She didn't answer it. She talked around it. That told me everything. In the service corridor, her companion tried to crowd me. Nothing dramatic, just space invaded, pressure applied. I stepped aside, calm, and said one sentence. "Don't touch me again." He backed off, not because he was brave, but because staff were watching. That was the moment I knew this wasn't about passion or impulse. This was logistics. Before leaving, the coordinator pulled me aside. "Just so you know," she said quietly, "someone called earlier asking if a small ceremony could still happen here. Off the books." I nodded. On my way out, I checked my phone. A new email from the florist. Delivery scheduled for tomorrow morning. That's when it clicked. They weren't waiting to see what I'd do. They were counting on me not showing up at all. I smiled to myself as I walked into the night. Good. Let them keep going. By morning, the loft was no longer a theory. It was a schedule. I stood in a coffee shop across the street, watching vans double park like they owned the place. Flowers first, chairs second. People who believed in happy endings always start with chairs. I didn't walk in. Not yet. I opened my email and sent one message, polite, neutral, impossible to misread. "Please confirm that no services are to be rendered under my agreement at this address." Replies came fast, faster than Sloane expected. Deliveries paused. Drivers checked phones. One van shut its doors and pulled away. Across the street, I saw her arrive. Sloane stepped out of a ride looking calm on the outside, brittle underneath. She scanned the sidewalk, not for me, but for problems. That told me everything. Her friend showed up next, already talking, already gesturing. She noticed the missing vans and froze mid-sentence. That was the first crack. I crossed the street then. Slowly. No rush. People notice confidence when it moves at walking speed. Sloane spotted me and stiffened. "What are you doing here?" she asked, too loudly. "Watching," I said. "You're early." "This isn't funny," she said. "I know," I replied. "That's why I'm not laughing." She tried to step in front of me, to block the entrance like a guard who didn't belong there. A security worker approached, neutral, professional. He asked if there was a problem. "Yes," Sloane said. At the same time, I said, "No." The worker looked at me. "I'm the one on the contracts," I said calmly. That ended the discussion. Her friend pulled her aside, whispering fast. I didn't need to hear the words. Panic has a posture. A few minutes later, her bad boy arrived. Late, irritated, already annoyed that things weren't bending. He saw me and smirked. "Man, you really can't let go," he said. I looked at him once. "I let go yesterday," I replied. "Today, I'm just closing accounts." His smile faltered. He moved closer, testing space, trying to reframe the moment. I didn't step back. "Careful," I said quietly. "You're on camera." That did it. He stepped away, muttering something I didn't need to hear. A truck rolled in behind us, then stopped. A clamp was already on his vehicle. Building rules, unpaid loading zone fines. Not my work, just timing. His expression shifted. Confusion first, then anger. Sloane looked between us, realizing too late that this wasn't a misunderstanding. "This can't be happening," she said. "It is," I replied. "And you told everyone it would." Phones were out now, people filming, the story forming without my help. I checked the time. They were out of moves, and that was only the beginning. The twist didn't arrive with drama. It arrived with paperwork. I learned the rest that afternoon, sitting in a quiet office with bad coffee and clean walls. The kind of place where nothing emotional ever survives long. The truth was smaller than betrayal, and sharper. Sloane hadn't panicked when she asked for space. She had scheduled it. The loft, the alternate vendors, the timing. All of it lined up with something I'd ignored before because it sounded too dull to be dangerous. Stability. Her family had pushed for it. Not love, structure. Someone reliable. Someone who paid on time and didn't ask for applause. Me. The plan wasn't to choose him over me. It was to transition, keep the image intact, keep the date, keep the guests, swap the role quietly, and let the story rewrite itself. I wasn't rejected. I was being replaced mid-performance. That explained the confidence, the calm, the way she never thought I'd interfere. People don't guard against furniture moving on its own. My phone buzzed. A message from her. "We can still fix this if you stop." I didn't reply. An hour later, another message. From him this time. "Walk away. You're done." I smiled. People only send messages like that when they're scared the ground might answer back. By evening, the consequences started stacking. Vendors didn't reschedule. Friends stopped replying. The story changed tone, not loud yet, but cautious. Curious. That's worse. When people stop defending you and start asking questions, the collapse has already begun. She called again. "You wanted control," she said, voice tight. "Congratulations." "I never wanted control," I replied. "I wanted honesty. You're ruining everything." "No," I said calmly. "I'm removing myself." Silence. That's when she understood the real problem. I wasn't fighting for her. I was letting the structure fail without me holding it up. And once people see that something only stood because one quiet person kept it upright, they don't rush to save it. They step back, they watch, and they remember who let it fall. Tomorrow, there would be witnesses. And this time, there would be no way to rename what happened. By the time evening came, the loft wasn't pretending anymore. It was exposed. Chairs were half set. Flowers sat unopened in boxes like unanswered questions. People arrived dressed for celebration and stopped short when they sensed something was wrong. Confusion spreads faster than certainty. I arrived early and didn't hide it. I placed a thin folder on a table near the entrance, printed confirmations, timestamps, address changes. Nothing dramatic. Just reality. Organized. Sloane showed up 10 minutes later. She froze when she saw the room. Not because of me. Because of the silence. Her friend was already whispering, phone in hand, eyes darting. Damage control mode. Too late. Then he arrived. Late again, irritated again. He scanned the room, saw the missing vendors, the watching faces, and finally saw me. "This is on you," he said loudly, trying to anchor blame before it drifted. I didn't raise my voice. "Tell them," I said, "why you thought this was happening today." Sloane stepped in fast. "You don't get to do this." "Do what?" I asked. "Ask questions?" Phones came out, not mine. Theirs. Someone asked quietly, "I thought the venue was downtown." Another voice. "Didn't you say everything was confirmed?" Sloane opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. "I needed space," she said. "He couldn't give it to me." That line might have worked yesterday, not today. I slid the folder forward just enough for people to see dates, names, locations. "No speeches," I said. "Just timing." He moved toward me then, close enough to test nerves, confidence sharp but thin. "Say one more thing," he muttered. I didn't step back. "Everyone's watching," I said quietly. He glanced around and saw it too. Eyes, lenses, attention he couldn't overpower. He stepped away. That was the moment the room decided. Not loudly, not all at once. People checked messages, stepped aside, looked at Sloane with something new in their expressions. Distance. Her friend stopped talking. The story was no longer about love. It was about deception. And there was only one part left to play. The room emptied the way air leaves a cracked window. Quietly at first, then all at once. Someone set their gift bag down and didn't pick it back up. Someone else whispered, "I'm going to step out," and never came back. Phones stopped filming and started messaging. That's when you know the damage is permanent. When the audience turns into messengers. Sloane stood in the center of it, still dressed for a future that had already missed its appointment. "This isn't fair," she said. Not to me. To the room. No one answered. He tried once more. "This doesn't change anything," he said, voice louder than necessary. People don't care about paperwork. I finally looked at him. They care about patterns, I said, and today showed them yours. He took a step toward me, frustration leaking out through posture and breath. Not a strike, not courage, just noise looking for an outlet. I didn't move. Do it, I said calmly. Right here. He stopped. Because confidence disappears when witnesses don't blink. A security worker cleared his throat, neutral, professional, present. I need everyone to begin exiting, he said. This event is not authorized. That was it. No announcement, no dramatic ending, just reality reclaiming the space. Sloane's phone started buzzing, call after call, message after message. Her face shifted with each vibration, the certainty draining out in real time. She looked at me then. Really looked. You planned this? She said. I shook my head. No, I replied. You did. I just stopped holding it together. Outside, through the tall windows, I saw it happen. His vehicle, still parked where it shouldn't have been, was already being dealt with. Rules applied, consequences enforced, no shouting, no damage, just removal. He turned to see it, disbelief written across his face. That was the moment, not when he realized he'd lost control, when he realized no one was coming to give it back. Sloane took a step toward me, voice lower now. What am I supposed to do? I leaned in just enough for her to hear me, and only me. You wanted someone exciting, I said. This is what exciting costs. I turned and walked out before she could answer. Behind me, the last chair scraped against the floor, and then there was nothing left to witness.